All right, here we go. We back. My name is Tim Black. Welcome to another edition of Beyond The Talking Points. I got my brother, Dr. Musa Abdullah, in the house. How you doing, Doc?
I'm doing good, brother. Hello, everybody. Peace and love to the family. I'm so glad to be back here with my brother, the great Tim Black.
The great Dr. Musa Abdullah in the building, putting it down, man. Look, it's been a minute. It's been a minute, but we back in it.
Got a lot to talk about.
Thank you for making time, Doc.
Absolutely, man. This is one of my passions, especially when you get to talk to somebody that you admire and you know is doing the good work out here on the Black media spaces, man.
Man, what you, man? You know, I get to have a brother that makes me look good, man, who's definitely going to have well thought out opinions, and that most importantly, that my audience will get the benefit of hearing his take on a number of issues. Yeah. And man, they'd have to pay for this therapy that you're about to give us.
Man, first of all, I want to say, and I'm going to keep doing it as the climate calls for it. I got to keep saying, one, I apologize, and two, you are extremely prophetic and insightful, brother, because when you were calling out the young man, Mr. Godfrey, man, everybody's on that Joker's bumper. And since he came out with his podcast, the 154 podcast, which, by the way, he acknowledged that was created by himself, a foundational Black American, and a white lesbian woman. And, you know, we can have our conversations about allyships and all that stuff, but it speaks to why some of his positions have become more apparent and how he is not truly an ally of the community, brother. Now, you called it, and I was hemming and hawing, as I say, because I was uncertain, but you were on the money, brother, and I like to give you your props, man. Kudos to you for seeing what I could not see.
Hey, bro, look, man, first of all, thank you. I appreciate that. I accept that. But as long as we're on the right page in history, you know, there's going to be things that you're going to see before I see it. You know what I'm saying? And you pull my coat, like, yo, check this out. And that's what people, that's what brothers are for, man. We try to help each other see around the corner. And if you've been through an experience or what have you, if you have an inkling of something that would benefit me that I should know, absolutely, I appreciate you doing the same, brother. So all I did is put a little deposit in the bank account, the Dr. Abdullah bank account, so that when I need a withdrawal, you got me. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you put that in there, and it got interest, brother. It's got compounded interest, the eighth one of the world, as they say, compounded interest.
Man, yes, look, Doc is serious about this, man. He hit me up. He was like, look, because I knew we had a couple topics to discuss.
Yeah.
And Doc was like, yo, can we talk about brother Nolan Wells?
Yeah.
So
man,
I just put out a new Nolan Wells video today, like about 2 hours ago. So, Doc, if you don't mind, could you kick it off with your Nolan Wells? Folks, let's give Doc an opportunity to kind of weigh in, because as a teacher, who's around brothers, young men and women, impressionable young men every day, brother, I know you got an insight on this that might be new to the viewers.
Well, I want to say, first of all, I've had many, many conversations regarding Nolan Wells' situation. I actually have a friend whose entire family is from Mississippi, and he has very much shared with me the landscape. I've traveled, I've lived around the country. I've lived in, New York, Michigan, Maryland. I've stayed extensively in the South, in Texas. I have family in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's where my father's family's from. My mother's family, maternal side, is from Georgia, foundational Black American all the way through and through. But to my core, I'm a Detroiter. I'm from the D. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. For everybody out there, what up, doe? And let me say this to you. I've had to have this conversation because some people don't really understand the dynamics when you start talking about the lone Black friend. And I've had friends that grew up all Black environments, all Black teachers, only saw Black cops, Black store owners, maybe a couple Arabs, some Chinese food restaurants, but pretty much their existence is Black. They grew up in pretty decent homes, 2-family homes, high income earning homes, actual middle class homes. And these same people, when they got the opportunity, they ran to the suburbs, particularly during the housing crisis in the early 2000s. And I never was on that. I've never lived amongst predominantly white individuals. I've always lived in predominantly black neighborhoods. I want to say at least, at minimum, 90% black neighborhoods.
Wow.
You know,
Word.
that's just what I've done. I've always felt comfortable that way. I've always had my children in black schools. I feel very comfortable with them having black teachers, black administrators, black activities, everything. And I've always bumped heads with my friends, frat brothers, and that have ran to the suburbs and have their children in these all white spaces. And speaking as an educator, I've had friends tell me, well, the school systems are better there. Well, let's start off by telling you this. 80% of all property tax dollars are spent on public education. So if you're going to a suburban area and they have a higher tax base, property tax basis, of course the schools are going to be better. They have more money to draw from. That's number one. Number two, why do you think they created those schools? They were not created for you. So effectively, what you're teaching your children to do is to ignore and accept as normal white supremacist microaggressions. You're teaching your children to accept things that if you were not in an all white environment, they would sound odd to you, like, you're not like the other black people I know.
Wow.
You're very articulate.
Wow.
Wow, you're really smart. Wow, you speak like me. What does your father do for a living? And this is my favorite, because my name is Musa Abdullah. What country are you from?
Yeah.
I'm from here. No. Where's your family from? Here. Oh, because you're so smart. Now, that sounds odd to me, but when you're a child raised in a predominantly white environment, those types of statements are accepted as normal.
Right.
So they don't know that that's a microaggression. They don't know that they're setting themselves up. And I'm going to say that I'm not going to say her name. I have an ex-girlfriend that I dated for a very long time. She moved to the West Coast. I'll say that. And her children have always been around predominantly white environments. As a matter of fact, her son and daughter have only been around white children predominantly. And I've always took umbrage with that. I'm like, why are you doing that? Oh, it's just, because I got married and that's where I live. And I said, but it seems that you're not going out of your way to put your child in a position to be comfortable with themselves. Wow. And these are beautiful, chocolate, dark skinned children. Both of them are beautiful, right? And I'm like, wow. And every time I see pictures, just them, they're the little dot. And that takes me to Brother Nolan Wells. When I saw that, the first thing I said was, I wonder if both of his parents are foundational Black American. And when I found that the mother was not, I was not shocked. Then I said, they never had the conversation with that young man. We're the only community that's told everyone's equal, you're to be judged by your merits, and you got to give everybody a chance. We're the only community that's told that. No other community lives like that.
Right. And
because of that, you have the Nolan Wells. I'll even go one step further. That's why our brother Carmelo Anthony was put in the position he was put in to have to defend himself against those aggressors. And I want to say that there is something very interesting that has occurred. Typically, you have Gen X or baby boomer parents who want to provide what they perceive to be a better life for their children. And to them, better means white. To them, it may not even be white. To them, it means not black. And so they move their children into these environments where it is dangerous because they don't understand the rules. They don't understand that people aren't going to always be blatantly racist.
Right.
They're not going to be blatantly anti-black. And because you have not grown up, you have not been educated with them, you have not intermingled with them as a youngster, you don't know the signs. I, fortunately and unfortunately, have experienced racism since I can remember. I was called the N-word by nuns, priests, brothers, teachers. I was told I wouldn't amount to much by these same authority figures.
Wow.
And because my family on my mother's side was Roman Catholic, they didn't believe that these things could happen because no, not the wives of Christ, which is what they call the nuns.
Right.
Not the father, not the brother, even though I told them they're calling us N-words. What are you talking about? So I had to work extra hard to prove that I was not what they said. And even though my grades were very good, I got A's and B's, they consistently gave me low marks in behavior.
Wow.
In citizenship, because they couldn't get me anywhere else. And I'm telling that people that are anti-black do not have to have rhyme or reason. Stop looking for reasons for them to harm us. There is no reason outside of the fact that you are black. So the Nolan Wells situation was extremely disturbing to me because, one, I've seen it occur. I've seen young black boys and girls be mistreated, be hurt, be traumatized because their parents truly believed that their child was one of the gang. And I look back in my own personal history at times that my mother has entrusted my well-being to people of other groups because she genuinely believed it was better because it wasn't black. And I want people to understand that you're never going to get parity. You're only going to get mistreated if you consistently look outside of your community for greatness when you should be looking to build up your community. And that is why I take broadcasting information about education so seriously, because I want to give our brothers and sisters the tools and equip them with the knowledge so that when they go into these schools, when they interact with teachers and administrators, they know this is what I should be looking for. This is what I should and should not be expecting because my child's safety and well-being are at stake. And I'm going to get out your way and step off my soapbox, Brother Black. My apologies.
No, man, I appreciate you sharing those thoughts about not just Nolan Wells, but the larger context of where we live and our environments that we raise our children and some of the decision-making or lack of decision-making, I guess, that we utilize when making certain decisions. You know, my story is kind of similar to yours in as, you know, I grew up in predominantly black spaces. And in fact, yeah, now that I thought about it, you said 90%, I thought that was high. But then I thought about it, I'm like, hold on, I'm doing some math in my head. Okay, yeah. Yeah, pretty much the same thing here as far as 90% black neighborhoods that I lived in.
Right.
I never was raised to believe that the white ice was colder.
Yeah.
That maybe that white ice had a razor blade in it. That's how I was raised. Like, you know, like
right.
that you know, I remember my mom, and my mom is still with us, with me, I should say. Don't trust them. would be her, and that was just history, because I think I've talked about JFK, RFK, the Kennedys, and MLK. These are people my parents grew up losing.
Right.
And this was not something they read in the book. This is something that they lived through. So when you live through the 60s and you experience those things, when, my mom was from New York, but she's also lived in a place called Winchester, Virginia, and some other places in the Carolinas, and she's seen racism very close up. My dad is from D.C., but, and even him as well. So, they grew up with the segregation laws.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was in her early 80s. She's 81. So I'll just say that, I understand where you're coming from. And it's unfortunate that there are some of us who just believe, put these kids in this school and they're going to be fine. They're going to excel. They're going to be around white kids. It's going to be better for their lives. They forget the whole the interaction thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
They forget the biases that they're going to experience on a daily basis that you point out. In my experience now, I have a dilemma in a way because I've been the kind of content that I created, particularly before 2020, pre-2020, when I pretty much got tired of the progressives, I had a pretty much very diverse audience.
Yeah.
Things changed. And I can tell you, fam, I've always been strong on black politics.
Right.
In fact, that was sort of like what I gave the progressives. I gave them an authentic black voice that was also in line with, healthcare, ending wars, but that kind of gave the movement cover.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. So I think I was somewhat used for my blackness, but I never felt that I compromised my blackness, if that makes sense to you.
It does. It does.
And they utilized my truly being a black man who stood on black business as a feather in their cap to say, we got a real black man. So anyway, the point is, in my experience, man, a lot of the white progressives have been very supportive. Were very supportive of me. You know what I'm saying? And immigrants, very supportive of me. And we're talking 10 times fold of what black support has been.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep it a buck with you. It is truly love in what you speak of when you say we need to build up our own communities and we have to sacrifice. So when you hear me when I'm going in on Don Lemon or Joy Reid, and I know Joy Reid's a tether, I understand that. But when I'm going in on people that look black American but are black something else or whatever their background is, some of it is anger.
Yeah.
Bitterness, because I made a decision that my personal financial well-being was not as important as me using my platform to help my people instead of help myself. And I've had the experience of walking away from money, opportunity, ability, upward mobility, not just for me, for my entire family. And when I see people giving other people a pass who not only do not stand up for us, but talk a lot of BS, a lot of sideways nonsense, it really grinds my gears, fam. It really pisses me off, man. Because if I can sacrifice and say, you know what, it's important that we talk about reparations. And I don't care if I lose white voters or white viewers. And it's important that I stand up for a black hate crime bill. It's important that we talk about black politics in a way that's not deferential to other people's feelings, that we get at it and we be blunt and very straightforward with what the black community needs, and that be prioritized. By doing that, Dr. Musa, I sliced not only financial, but opportunity. I went from interviewing Congress people and presidential candidates to bringing on Dana with the data.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? I went from at the time, a presidential candidate, Bernie Sanders, being on his podcast to bring it, basically, and I love you, Dr. Musa, but basically not being in a position, I'm privileged to have you, bruh.
Right.
And I'm
I
not
feel
saying
you.
I'm not knocking you.
You got it. No, I get it. No, I listen, brother. I don't take it as a knock, brother. This is what it is, brother. You're gonna have to give up some of that proximity to power.
There you go. Oh, and your access to it.
Yeah.
And your access to comfortability. I'm being straight up when I say, fam, the Patreon got slit. I make a fourth of what I made when I had a white audience.
That was a conscious decision you made.
That was a conscious decision because you don't get to live forever. A brother running out of runway.
Yeah, you got more run. You got more behind you than you got ahead of you.
What will your legacy be?
Yeah, and that takes me to what your brother, Mr. Anton Daniels.
Right. Let me end it this way.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that to complain, family. What I'm saying to folks watching is this is what we need to do. I cannot criticize Stephen A. Smith and Anton Daniels or anybody else if I ain't willing to do it. We all know most of these people doing it for financial gain.
Right.
They're doing it for career opportunity. They're doing it to have that access. Now, if I'm not willing to take the hit, how could I talk shit about them?
Absolutely.
So what I'm saying is you have to make that call and you got to say, I guess back to Nolan Wells and Carmelo Anthony, man, I look at them and I say, I don't know if anyone gave them the talk. I don't know, maybe their parents thought it was a come up, but the come up is to come down and go round and fight in the trenches with your people and lift us all. Individual success will never equal the group success.
Never.
And yeah, man, anyway, I had no intentions of talking about that, but I'd say,
brother,
bro,
no, that's very important because it leads to the positioning that we don't ever consider in mass. I don't believe, I may be wrong, that what we have as a community is great. We're just not maximizing it. I genuinely believe that we have, and the great O'Shea Duke Jackson always says this: everything we need, we have in the Black community. We have everything. He says, that's why my content is for the Black community. I don't make it for anybody else because everything I need, I get from my people. And I think that we need to stop thinking that we need to look outside of ourselves. And being pro us is not anti anyone, because I can always say that there are great people in other communities. And I can always say there are great people in other communities that have assisted me personally.
Right.
But that's anecdotal.
And it's beside the point.
It's right. The exception does not disprove the rule.
Right.
I'm talking about brothers such as yourself. And I saw you pivot. I saw the pivot. I said, uh-oh. I said, yeah.
It's going to be a price to pay for that. Yeah,
I said, yeah, he about to get it. He about to get it. And I knew it was coming. I said, and I started looking at your subscriber count. I watched it, and I saw it go down. I said, he knows what he's doing now. And that's when I reached out. I said, well, hell, ain't no time like the present.
Yeah, man. But hey, look, right on time, brother.
Yeah.
I lost my dad. I lost my dad in 2021, right after COVID.
Yeah.
And then, and that really, that's it. Yo, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Just makes you question, like, okay, at the end of the day, what is my legacy going to be? Did I fight for my people as well as I'm fighting for everybody? Mm-hmm. Everybody don't need me like I think the Black community needs this message. So like, I have no regrets, man. I know I did the right thing to look in the mirror, and I had the support of my wife, and she doesn't second guess my point of view. It requires 14-hour days and working all weekends. But we make it work.
Yeah.
One thing Black people will do is they will watch.
Oh yeah, they'll watch. And
that's a sustained viewership that I don't think I would get the same type of loyalty, fam.
Yeah, I saw somebody. They said, "Be careful who you call your friends." I'd rather have 4 quarters and 100 pennies. I was like, oh, I like that. They said the quality is quality, not quantity. And I'm going to tell you, I got people, my little small itty bitty channel, I got people that comment every video, send me DMs, send me emails that I can count on. I feel I've never seen anything, but I feel like I know them because I know they're in the comments. I know that they're talking, they're sending out messages telling me, hey, why don't you talk about this? Giving me suggestions. And, you know, I may not get the most views and things like that, but I do recognize that there's somebody that's going to take this information I give that looks like me, who has a child who was like me. And that child is going to benefit. And that's what really drives me. And
man, you're one viral video away from, you know, going on a spree, going on a run, you know, and you never know when it's going to come, fam. You know,
never know, but
and then your back catalog will get consumed, and they'll be like, "Where you been?" I mean, bro, I still run into people every day to be like, "I found your channel today."
Yeah.
And I've been here 15 years. They be like, "I found your channel today."
What did Jamie Foxx say? It takes 10 years to become an overnight success.
That's it, bro.
Yeah. So I listen, and I would say that I remember when I was young and we would go to the mall. Most of Black Americans could tell you this. You know, you go to the store, go to the mall, you had that talk in the car.
Oh.
Look here, don't come in here acting no damn fool. Don't touch nothing. No, I ain't buying nothing. I came here to buy this, this, and this. Don't ask for nothing. You act a fool in there. Where you act up, I'm going to act up. Right. So I remember those conversations. Right. And what I find problematic is that we give celebrity a pass. They can act a fool in public, but we expect them to do righteous by the community in private. But we live in a society where people judge you by what they see, not even what you do. So when you get these people who grift on the degeneracy of the Black community and the failings of the Black community and make it their platform, but then they'll turn around and say, well, I do such and such for the Black community. That's not what people see. That's not what makes your bread and butter. Right. What makes your bread and butter is degrading and denigrating your own people that you know need the upliftment, just so you can enrich yourself and then walk around talking about you chasing the bag. Absolutely, man. Yeah.
What I have those clips if you want to go to those.
Absolutely. Yes.
Just I guess to put a bow on the Nolan Wells, man. You know, they haven't even done a medical examiner's report yet. We don't have a cause of death. Yeah. So we got so much left in the air. What's your thinking, brother? Do you think there's more to the story?
Well, I know that there isn't being a real investigation, because I'm going to tell you something that I know that the collective white community does do. They rally behind their youth. Yeah. Right. So even they did an interview on TMZ with one of Nolan Wells' good friends, who's 1 year behind Nolan Wells, who said that he knew a lot of information, but the sheriffs never came and questioned him, never interviewed him. So we know that's not going to go well. I was just recently informed via a couple social media posts that they say Colin Kaepernick is going to pay for the independent autopsy.
Right.
And
Tyler Perry's paying for the funeral.
Right. Which is wonderful. I really appreciate those men for doing that. Right. I just think that, unfortunately, I believe we're going to end up where we've always ended, which another a loss tragically of one of our young people, one of our children, and the culprits will not be punished for the crime. There is by no means any way the story that was given actually occurred that way. It's no way. He left his phone with you. He stayed on the island and told you, and you assumed he got another way back. But there was only one way in and one way out. None of it makes sense. And if it were anyone else, any other person of any other community, people would not have to ask the questions. Well, What type of young man was he?
Mm.
Did he listen? Did he have an argument with someone? That wouldn't be the question. The question be was, what the hell happened to this child?
Right.
And I just want people to know, if you have a young Black child, it is incumbent upon you to be honest about the realities of the world in which we live, and tell them, as I tell my son, even when my son goes about 4 blocks away to the park to play basketball, play football with his friends, one earphone in, one earphone out, walk against traffic, keep your head on a swivel. If it starts to get messy, immediately get your things and leave. If you can't get to your things, leave, and we'll come back later and hopefully they'll be there.
Mm.
Don't sit around with your phone trying to take pictures and video. It's not your business. The way social media is set up, you'll find out about it on somebody's Instagram stories.
There it is.
So people, please be mindful when you're talking to your children. It's not about what you wish the world would be. It's not about the possibility. It's about probability. And I'm going to land my plane there.
Yeah. Well said, Doc. Well said, brother. I hope that helps somebody out here who's listening.
Yeah.
Hope they take that to heart, because those are wise words, brother. Wise words.
Thank you.
I remember coming home and telling my mom, my mom said, what took you so long? Why are you late today? I said, well, Mom, it was a fight after school. She said, it was a fight? How you know? Well, I saw them. They was. She said, when people fighting, you bring your ass home.
Oh, yeah.
She told you saw the fight.
What did Cat Williams say? He said he got shot. He said when he got shot, wasn't no flowers coming from, wasn't no violins. He said, I wasn't even in there. I was just watching. He said, I wasn't even in the fight. He said, I saw a dude pull out a gun. He said, oh, this about to be good. Bam, and he got shot. So we all know the innocent bystander situation. Take your infamous words of my family, take your ass home.
Take your ass home.
There you go.
Take your ass.
There you go.
TYAH.
Yeah.
SYBAU.
That's right. Take your ass home. That's right.
Take your ass home. Hey, look, man. Look, y'all. Hang tight. Let me cue up this video for us real quick.
Yeah.
This is I think it's the Anton Daniel Stephen A. And then we have the Andrew Gillum.
Oh,
so
man.
Yeah, it's gonna be something right here.
Woo.
Yeah. Obviously, Darren, you're a liberal.
See, I don't know if we. Yeah, I guess we got to be small in the corner. This
That's
is a
okay.
10-minute clip, huh?
That's all right.
It's all good.
Yes, sir.
Let's listen to Theron. I have Theron Johnson and Anton Daniels in the clip, as you see.
Right.
So I didn't cut it all the way up, but here we go.
Anton's unapologetically conservative. Both of y'all have stated the state of Black America right now in the United States. What would you say it is right now? I'll start with you, Darren.
I think the state of Black America right now, Stephen A., is one that's fluid, in your words, but it's something that we need to all be focused on, because as we sit here right now in the United States of America, we know that Black unemployment is high, and we care about a lot of the issues that white, Hispanic, and Asian people care about. And here they are in this order. Number one, we want to be able to be safe. We have allowed the Republicans and others to say that we don't believe in law and order. And I'm here to tell you that that's not true. Number two is that we want our children to have an opportunity, particularly our Black children, to have an opportunity to go to schools, whether it's private schools or public schools. But then when you get into healthcare, and we know the alarming rates of people with diabetes, people who have heart conditions, and even mental illness in Black people right now. Just studies have shown that young Black people right now are committing suicides at a higher rate than we've ever seen before. So I think the state of Black America right now is struggling. I think that some of us are prosperous, but some of us are actually not bringing enough people along with us. And then lastly, I think that we have to make sure that for those of us that have been blessed to have an opportunity to have a good paying job, to have a family structure, there's a lot of folks out here, particularly kids, depending on what zip code you're born in, will determine your actual pathway to success. A lot of folks in Atlanta and places around the country are being born below the poverty line. And if you don't have that family structure in place, access to quality paying jobs, and also healthcare, we as Black Americans, we got to do better.
Darren, before I get to Anton, who do you hold most culpable for the state of affairs involving Black America at this point in time?
I think it's a combination of a lot of different things, but it's a confluence of the lack of leadership on the federal level, starting with President Trump. And then I think the second part of it is that we've got to be more emboldened to hold the elected officials accountable. You can't just come in our communities and tell us things that we want to hear. We got to make sure that when we elect you, particularly Black women, who is the backbone of the Democratic Party, we got to make sure that we hold them accountable, and not just Democrats. We got to get into those rooms with Republicans too, and don't let them off the hook. So I think it's a confluence of a lack of leadership on the federal and state level, but also making sure we hold our Black leaders more accountable to make sure that they deliver on what they promised us.
Anton, when I would ask you the same question, what do you believe the state of Black America to be at this particular moment in time? Who do you hold most culpable for it?
I'm not sure exactly what he means by fluid. And I'm assuming that he defined that based off of the different parameters by which he spoke about the Black community. However, I think I agree with him, except for I would describe it as in shambles. Worse off than we've ever been, freer than we've ever been. And the fact that we're willing to blame Trump, although we've had decades of opportunities, Black cities, you look at some of the blackest cities in the United States of America, Memphis, for example, is in shambles and they needed Trump's help. And I think that there's a lack of accountability and victimhood. And as long as we continue to promote that it's somebody else's fault, you know, I was looking at Juneteenth in Chicago, right? And you had over 7 people killed and 36 people shot. And while we were focusing on whether or not Asians and white people, whether it's Carmelo Anthony or Cyrus Carmack, is responsible and if they should go to jail or not, in every city across America, especially where predominantly Black people live, you don't have to kill each other, but there's drive-bys, and there were over 113 shell casings where 12 people were shot on Juneteenth itself. And so when I look at the state of the Black community, it has nothing to do with the political landscape. It has everything to do with self-accountability, regardless of whether or not you're picking the right curriculum, if you want to go to college or you want to go to community college. Healthcare, I don't think that we're concerned about it. Self-care, I don't think that we're concerned about it. And more importantly, I think that we're more concerned about self-care with regard to promoting ourselves and the culture that's the worst for us versus taking accountability for the state that we have ourselves in. We don't have to have children out of wedlock. We don't have to put ourselves at a disadvantage, and we don't have to have children in poverty. And we have more technological advantages as far as research and understanding of it.
Okay. We come back to it.
It is hard listening to that guy, right? It is.
I wonder if I can get this off the screen. Let me get him off the screen, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hide it. Bring us back. All right, Doc. You wanted to talk about this dude. What's up, Doc? What are you thinking about this clip so far?
You know, all right. Well, first of all, let me be very, very clear. I don't see much value. I see some value, but not a lot of value in what both of them are saying. Mr. Johnson's given a milquetoast perspective because he doesn't want to hold his party accountable. Let's be clear on that one. For him to say Black leadership is not, they're making promises and not delivering. I'll go one step further. They're not even making promises at this point. I don't remember a promise that was made by any Black politician that is going to advance the Black American community. I can't. I know what we've been asking for. We can go from what we've been asking for. When I will speak for you, when you were progressive, the things you were talking about, health care. You were talking about ending wars because those people that are going to fight those wars are coming directly out of our community.
Exactly.
Right? That wasn't taken care of. Neither one of those things were taken care of. We talk about proper education, equitable education. We know that's not being taken care of. So those things weren't. Now, when you start talking about the delineation movement that has occurred in America, particularly with foundational Black Americans, we are now becoming more savvy. We're becoming more intellectual when it comes to politics. We're saying, okay, we want to have reparations on the table. That's something we need to be talking about, number one. Number two, what about the anti-Black hate crime bill? We need something like that. We need something that's going to speak directly to the ills of our community. And When has anyone, any politician come and said, Black Americans in particular, hell, even Black people, this is what we're going to do for you? As a matter of fact, I've heard the opposite. From your, as they call him, the forever president, I would never call him that, Mr. Obama. He said himself, I'm not the president of Black people. I'm the president of all people.
What?
So that lets me know you ain't gonna do nothing for us. When the pseudo false Black woman, Kamala Harris, was running, she infamously stated, I ain't gonna do something that's only gonna help Black people. No.
Right.
When the Mr. Bernie Sanders was asked what did he think about reparations, he asked us, what does reparations mean? Even though his community receives reparations for an atrocity that the country did not participate. Right. So for him to say that lets you know he's milquetoast. He's trying to toe the line because he doesn't want to do, as we spoke on that earlier, cut himself off from opportunities and access. Going over to the full other side of the spectrum, Mr. Anton Daniels, I think it's amazing when I listen to him speak because he's from Detroit too. And he's younger than me, a little bit younger, not significantly younger, just a little bit younger, maybe 5 or 6 years. So he's in my generation, but he's in the younger tail end of it. But guys like him, we would clown.
Yeah.
He was a clown to us.
He still is.
Right. And I can't think of any place in actual Detroit that he was at that people were like, who are you? What are you talking about?
Right.
Right. The Detroit culture, it's very different depending on what side of town you lived on. Okay. East side was more working class, plant workers, civil servants, police officers, mailmen, firefighters, lay people, lower to middle class. The west side was upper middle class. You had your professionals, your teachers, your doctors, your lawyers. Then you got the Southwest, which was Mexican primarily, not just Latino, Mexican in particular, poor white. And then you start going downtown, that's a mixed bag. But in the suburbs is where you had your whites. And even though we may have had different upbringings, different understandings being as Black people, guys like Anton didn't fit in anywhere.
Right.
So I'm like, where the hell were you? And I can only imagine that he was one of those private school kids. Now, I went to private school as well, but I went to private schools that are predominantly Black. A lot of the kids that went to my private schools were put out of the public schools, right? So their parents had to pay for education. So, because they weren't allowed in the public schools anymore. So I had that element in my schools. It was more, you just had to pay. But when you start talking about schools like Shrine, and people from Detroit will know these names, Shrine, Bishop Borges, East Catholic, DePore, St. Martin DePore, St. Benedictine, where I went. These are schools that were predominantly Black, but guys like him, they didn't even fit in there. So for him to be so denigrating, I know it's something that he picked up in time, and he is just grifting.
Yeah.
He is just pandering to an audience because I have went through his catalog and I have yet to see a video where he holds other communities accountable.
Right.
For their degeneracy. And every community has a degeneracy. So for him to put it all on us and for this guy to bring Trump up, when I'm like, no, brother, we were having these problems pre-Trump, the issues that we're having, but we need to stop acting as if our community is not farther along and greater than the algorithm of negative degeneracy is showing us.
Right.
As we know, Black men in particular, 51% of Black men are in the middle class and are single and are childless. So that totally negates the whole Pookie and the Ray Ray and the drug dealer ideology.
Right.
Because the majority of us are not in that ideological framework. And one thing that Anton Daniels keeps doing that I see a lot of conservatives do, either white conservatives or bootlicking conservatives such as him, what the hell does Chicago have to do with every place else? Why do we always have to hear about Chicago? I am in Brooklyn, New York. I think I'm about 800 miles away from Chicago.
Right.
And I'm going to say it just like this. I don't have anything to do with them dusty, crusty, gang-banging fools that are in Chicago. I'm not talking about all the black people in Chicago. I'm talking about that segment of the population.
Right.
Just like I don't have anything to do with those crusty, dusty bums that are in Brooklyn. And I'm right here. Stop utilizing representative sampling to represent the entire black community. You want to bring up something that happened during Juneteenth in Chicago. There were so many Juneteenth events happening in Brooklyn, and I never heard of one incident of negativity.
Right.
Not one.
Right.
In the most densely populated borough, in the most densely populated city in the entire country. There was not one incident of violence at a Juneteenth event. So what do? You cherry pick and go to Chicago. No one's listening to you, Anton, except the people that you're grifting for, who want to feel comfortable looking at our community as something that is failed and has no positivity in it. And I'll land there. What are your thoughts, brother?
Wow, man, that was a clinic right there, man. Hey, look, we need to skip weeks more often, man. You come in here with a fully loaded clip, man. You pull out the Drago, you get street sweeper style.
Brother, I'm with you, man. So you inspired. So that's why I'm where I am.
Let me say this, man. I'm glad that this second time I accidentally included Theron Jackson, I think his name is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I included him because you're absolutely right, bro. What was he even talking about? I mean, we passed him. He is full of it, but it's less damaging because we just listen to him talk. We're so used to that dead-eye Democrat liberal BS that we don't pay it any attention. It's not insulting. It's just I don't know, what's the word for it? Jabber. What's the word? Babble. Yeah, it's babble. It's liberal babble. It's progressive babble about what I don't know. It doesn't help us, but at least it doesn't degrade us. And that's the problem I have with Anton. Yeah, Theron says some things that are factually just dumb. I mean, black people have been on the bottom of the barrel way before Trump, and we've been struggling with these statistics. I look at our housing rates. I looked at in the 90s, we were up to 52%. We're back down to 44%. And that hasn't improved under a president who's Democrat or Republican.
That's right.
So that's my focus. I'm on economics for black Americans.
Right.
So Theron missed me with that guy. But when we get to Anton, it's like you stated, brother. He just throws anything to the wall that sounds good that he's heard other white people say. And I know he's not white, but he wants to be very badly. He wants to be a white conservative very badly because I'm sure it pays well. I mean, believe me, man, I had one when I got away from the progressives, I had some conservatives approach me like, you need to join us. I was like, just because I don't rock with the Democrats does not mean I rock with you guys. Obviously, Anton wants the money.
Oh, yeah.
And he doesn't care who he throws under the bus to get it. He just looks at it as a game to him.
Yeah.
Anytime you say people that are upset that Cyrus Cormac Belton had his life lost or taken by this Asian store clerk, what was it, 200 yards away, 150 yards away from his store, it doesn't make sense. And the Asian boycott that ensued after that now has become more so a transfer of wealth.
Yes.
And that's our wealth back to us.
Yes.
That's not transferring money out the white community or money out the Asian community. That's transferring our money, black money, back to black Americans, which is what all other communities do. And as a conservative who you would think would support that, instead he uses black people trying to empower themselves and spend money with black people as a negative because of what? Somebody got shot on Juneteenth. Anton, people get shot every day, B.
Absolutely, my brother.
And that has nothing to do. One thing has nothing to do with the other.
Absolutely.
These things are not connected, dum-dum. But the worst part about Anton is that I believe it's a small segment, but there's a small segment of black folks who run from books, who fall into, they are racist in a sense that they are, there's a term for it. There are those with implicit bias. No, they have an implicit bias against themselves.
Right.
They feed off negativity about themselves. They have adopted the mindset of explicit bias, anti-black bias, and internalize that. And they actually applied even false statements like the one Anton makes, as long as they give them a way to blame black America for its problems. It doesn't take long to look to find out that if it weren't for government intervening, there would not be a middle class in America.
Absolutely.
Middle class was a construct. It was created by policy. It's so many things in our country or in your state or your city that if not for the state or the city, that's why we have those. I don't know what people would do. Like, we can't make our own clean water.
Yes.
We don't have the ability to make our own bridges. Like, that's what government is about. And an asshole like Anton will say, it's all up to the individual. It was never up to the individual for those white folks, some poor white folks in the 30s and 40s before FDR, to get time off work, to get a minimum wage, to get those set-asides, to end up getting those GI bills. Those things created those white folks who are in those privileged positions now, whose grandchildren inherited large sums of money and have given them the ability to do great things. And I'll just end it on this. If your argument for your conservatism hinges on degrading black people, that's not much of an argument. We've been dragged for 300 years. And the only way that you can justify your existence and your anti-black bias is to point to the 20% of black Americans who aren't doing so well. Even those 20% that aren't doing so well are doing better than 60% of black people globally.
Globally. That's right.
Globally. And so, I mean, I guess it's what I'm saying. It's all about the frame and the narrative that you want to peddle. Back to you, Doc.
No, I agree 100%, brother. I'm so glad you said it in the way you said it, man. I look at people who maintain the positioning of an Anton Daniels, and I'm saying to myself, what are you doing that you could rest at night and say, well, this is what I'm doing for the community? Because one thing you did not hear from Mr. Johnson and Mr. Daniels was solutions. You didn't hear solutions. You heard complaints. You heard finger pointing. I don't know who Mr. Johnson was pointing his finger at. It was kind of all over the place. He's pointing it all over here, right? But Anton Daniels has a wonderful way of just pointing it at the black community.
Yeah.
And I would say, okay, let's say we allow that. Do you show the same level of accountability politics when it comes to other communities, in particular the community that you pander to?
Yeah.
Well, we saw what happened when Mr. Tatum attempted to do that. That didn't work out too well for him.
No.
We saw what happened with your alt-right adjacent folks like Sneeko and Andrew Tate and these guys. Hell, we see what happens every time Mr. Gaines attempts to speak against the women of other communities. How he's confronted by the most extreme of the group, their men. Wow. I say all that to say that there's going to be the Negro wake-up call. And when it comes, who will you have to position yourself with? Because those people that are cheering you on and championing you, that look like you, will jump ship because they know they will not have their savior to espouse those beliefs and ideologies. And you already know that your core group of your core audience is not loyal to you. Yeah. And you, as a brother, Professor Black Truth always says, once white supremacy is done with its tools, it breaks them. And I think that we are all waiting for the day when Mr. Daniels is broken. Back to you, brother.
Yeah, man. Let's hear what else he it's towards the end of the clip.
Yeah.
We could push on to Andrew Gillum, man. I don't know if we got much more to say
to
that brother. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Yeah. I think we said it needs to be said because guess what, man? This guy is a clown. I mean, and I try to stay as professional as possible, but I don't know a better word for this guy because when I saw
obviously, Darren, you're a liberal. Anton,
my bad.
No, it's okay. When I saw him get into it with Corey Holcomb, I said, yeah, there it is right there. That was nothing he did was Detroit. Let me tell you something. I will tell you something. You can't. I'm out here in Brooklyn. I've lived in Brooklyn the majority of my life. Right?
Right.
But I went to college and high school in Detroit, where that's where you make your mark, high school and college. If somebody saw me online acting like that joker, and I went back to the D and I was out there, if I'm lucky, I just get clowned from the time I get there to the time I leave. If I'm lucky. If I'm unlucky, depending on what I said and what I did, somebody gonna touch me up real quick. Right? I already know what it is. I don't listen. I'm no gangster, but I tell people all the time, if you can make it in Detroit, you can make it anywhere. Somebody had to remind me, you better get your Detroit hustle bones back up. You slipping. And I don't know where this guy's from, but he's ridiculous. He's a clown. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
Next up with Tim Black.
He doesn't even see it. So you are still just as invisible and just as small as your dumb ass has always been.
Let me just say that's not.
Well, hold on. Let me keep going.
Because
I'm not done yet.
I know, but you also, but there's a point that I want you to riff on because Andrew may not see it, but his kids are old enough to see it.
I'm going to get there. My point is you're not even hurting him. You're hurting the people around him and you're dehumanizing him. To Bakari's point, his kids, his wife. I talked to Jay about some of the mean stuff she saw. And what you're not thinking about, and let me just correct the record on this too, since we're on this. What you're not thinking about is a lot of you have made some dumb assumptions about Jay. RJ Gillum is a G. RJ Gillum came to Essence, holding Andrew down, completely cool. We went to dinner, B. We went to a concert. She was like, I'm going to deepen into my joy before I have to deal with any of this. And she held it together and she's still holding it together. So what I would ask you to consider is how you would want somebody to treat your mom. How would you want somebody to treat your friend, your sister, your cousin, your niece, your godchild? And think about Jay and those babies when you're posting this dumbass shit. And first of all, I also want to get rid of this. Like, those two choose each other every single day. So some of the allegations, some of the ideas that you've come up with about Jay, let them go because y'all don't know what the hell you're talking about. And at some point, hopefully, Jay will be willing to address some of this stuff on her own. But I really want y'all to find a lane to occupy and stay in it. I am so irritated with some of the gossip blogs that haven't said shit about how great this show is, haven't talked at all about the way in which we constantly inform, debunk misinformation, show up in community spaces, launched an America 250 tour to go into communities, thanks to Bakari, that are second tier markets that are generally ignored. Y'all don't talk about that, but the first time there's something salacious, you act like the white man's plan. And you go and you put that nonsense up. This was an arrest. It was not a conviction. But you go and demonize the black man the same way that you would shit on a major white publication for doing. And the other thing I want to say to y'all is it's a trip that you have all this smoke and energy for Andrew. Some of the stuff made up, some of the posts made up, but I haven't heard y'all say anything about Nolan Wills. I haven't heard y'all make any real updates about Carmelo Anthony. I haven't heard y'all say much about some of these young people who are coming up dead by suicide, and they're found hanging from trees in the South.
Lord have mercy. Somebody come get Angela Rod out the goddamn street.
Brother, that was a master class in Democrat deflection.
Gaslighting like a mug.
How many times are we going to have to hear people blame the public and not the public figure? Is that what we still doing? Don't you realize that doesn't work?
It don't work, fam.
No one's buying it anymore because we know, first of all, we know it's coming. We know you're about to do it. We just like to see how you do it. How you going to spin this one, Angela? Where's Tiffany Cross? Where's she at?
She quit.
She quit.
she quit before this happened, though. She already bounced.
Brother, I already knew when I saw it. I said, I swear to you, I said, I wonder if Miss Rye will address it. And then I definitely wonder how she's going to spin it. And since she couldn't spin it, she had to gaslight us, blame us, not hold. I have yet to hear her say he shouldn't have put himself in the position to be arrested with marijuana and methamphetamine, something that we know he has a hankering for because of his first incident with the two individuals on the boat or in the hotel. I don't know where the heck it was. You know, it takes Brother Tariq to talk about it, that to make it hilarious, even though it's not a hilarious situation, but he found a way to make it hilarious. But I'll tell you this man was attempting to be the first black governor of Florida. Now, I always know that whenever there's a first black anything in 2020 anything, there's a problem. When there's a first black anything in the 21st century, it's a problem. There should have already been a first black everything by now. But if you are chosen, if you are selected, because he wasn't going to be elected, he's going to be selected for a position such as that, they already know what you got a hankering for, boy. And you driving erratically on the road and get found with this paraphernalia, what the hell does that have to do with the bloggers? Why wouldn't you say, as his friend, as his colleague, we just have to wait and see whether or not the legal system will judge him fairly? But we just wish the best for his family, in particular his wife and children.
And be out.
And be done. Next subject. Wait for the news cycle to flesh this on out. Don't bring up Carmelo Anthony. Don't do that. Because this has nothing to do with that. We can walk and chew bubblegum, Miss Rye. And guess what? For the record, we have always covered our youth being mistreated, mishandled, and unalived. We cover that ad nauseum and have no qualms about it. But you act as if we abandoned that to talk about this. No, we're talking about this in conjunction to further the conversation that these people that are placed in front of us are not only not representative of us, who we are, because they don't know our story, they don't live our lives. When they do wrong, they don't hold themselves accountable, and their constituency needs to. I'm gonna leave it there. What's your thoughts, Brother Tim?
The brother was pulled over at 10:45 in the evening. It was a routine traffic stop, and what happened was there were drugs that were visible. There was paraphernalia that was visible, which warranted a search. And that's what happened. And they found some drugs, marijuana cigarettes, 3 packages of substance that field tested positive for meth. They saw a glass pipe and some other paraphernalia. And charges include possession of dangerous drugs, unlawful possession of a controlled substance, marijuana, a misdemeanor, a use of possession of drug paraphernalia, blah, 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 blah. It's not that big a deal except for the meth.
Right.
And I don't even think it said he was intoxicated. I don't even know if they said that.
They never did.
I don't even know if he was, under the influence while he was driving.
They implied it by saying he was driving erratically. They implied it, but they never said it, though. You're absolutely correct on that.
So I don't know if he put other people's lives in danger. Is the point I'm pointing out here. But I'll say this, man. The only reason why this is a story, because of the other shit he did.
That's right.
It's because he's on record being in a hotel, busting it down, and having all these drugs. And then he went on a tour where he was talking, I forget who he was talking to. And he, hey, look, man, your sexuality is your sexuality. But when people ask you questions like, why was you with these 2 naked, one of them a sex worker, he admitted he's bi, he gets down like that or whatever.
Right.
But some to that extent. He admitted it.
Right.
So, I mean, if you ask me, I think the black community has been very gracious with Andrew Gillum. Not only did he let a lot of people down, dramatically, like in the highest form that you could be. This brother was, at one time, a rising star in the Democratic Party, and a lot of people were looking up to him, and he was considered to be what Wes Moore now is.
Yeah.
That's what we saw Andrew Gillum. I remember having debates with people when I was supportive of his governor run, his gubernatorial candidacy. I was supportive of it. I wasn't interested in no damn DeSantis.
Right.
I remember when DeSantis was using, we don't want to monkey it up in Florida.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a classic.
So Gillum went from being a guy that was a counter to that horrible dude. So Angela Rye's up here yelling at us when it's Gillum who has let us down. It's Gillum who has let his family down. It's Gillum who is a public figure. And look, I'm sorry. He didn't have to come back and be a public figure. He could have won and got a job and minded his business.
Isn't he a lawyer?
I don't know what he is, but he did not need to come back, do a podcast, remain in the public eye. Y'all did not need to team up with him.
Absolutely not.
And he could have just had a quiet life if he didn't want publicity.
He could have. You're absolutely right.
He was out of office. There's no reason why a person who you can't complain about getting media coverage when it's not the type of coverage you want, when you are part of media.
Yeah.
If it was Anderson Cooper or Joy Reid or Don Lemon or anybody else who that happened to, it would be news.
That's right.
So I don't know if Angela wants to yell or cry, because that's what she's really good at.
Absolutely.
But she needs to step off her high horse and stop talking down to the rest of us about a condition or a situation that none of us contributed to. None of us had anything to do with what put Andrew Gillum in that traffic stop with all that ish in his damn car.
I would say 2 things. I think that her positioning is very simple. Yeah, we saw it, so what? Shut up. Just that simple, which is every time someone in her camp or who she aligns herself with does anything that's ridiculous, which is Democrat 101. Yeah, we know we didn't give you anything. So what? Shut up and vote for us anyway. And secondly, I'd like to say, I know there was one way I can almost guarantee that this wouldn't have made the news, and I know it's going to be controversial when I say this, if he didn't have the paraphernalia in the car. I know it sounds crazy.
Yeah.
I know it sounds wild to say that, but had he have not had the substance that tested positive as methamphetamine and the clear pipe on the dashboard, because I remember that, and had he not have been driving erratically, had he just pulled over, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. So why don't we, and I have addicts that have been in my family, so I understand the sensitivity of that. Why couldn't you just say, hey, it's obvious that Mr. Gillum has a substance abuse issue.
Right.
Let's pray for this brother. Let's hope that he seeks the help and intervention that he needs so he can get himself clean, get himself right, and thereby being a better person for himself and his family. Let's just hope that, people, and move on to the next. You want to get on our bumper because we brought up what the news already brought up, because we had the nerve and audacity to talk about it. A man who we know they were grooming for a presidential run.
There it is.
See, that's the thing nobody wants to talk about. They were grooming him for a presidential run. Mm-hmm. I saw it. When I saw him, I read his credentials, looked at his background, looked at the family photos. I said, uh-oh, here we go.
Here we go.
That's the next one. I said, this is going to be the answer to the Barack Obama wasn't really black. That was going to be the answer. Andrew Gillum was going to be that answer.
Yep. And he showed they have no answer.
And now they have no answer because, you know, the delineation contingency, Foundation of Black Americans, Sudan, American Descendants of Slavery, these groups of individuals, our lineage is now saying, Westmore, you're not even optional. You're not optional. You're not optional because we saw what you do to the reparations committee.
Yeah, man.
In Maryland. So you're not a thought for us. Nope. You know, our lineage speaks, our ancestors speak against you. So you're out the water. Andrew Gillum actually was the best thing they had.
Yeah.
If you really get down to the bare bones of it, brother.
Yeah.
Who else did they have?
You know what's bad for me is that when I covered this story, fam, I was liked. I was like, look, obviously this brother has a substance abuse problem.
Yep.
I took the tact that you expressed when you said, you know, you have people in your family that have experienced that, and it's a touchy situation. I'm not going to dogpile this brother. Right. I recognize that that's what's going on. I hope he gets the help he needs.
Right.
And I kept it moving. I addressed it professionally and kept it moving. Right. But it's hearing Angela come with the gaslighting, the finger pointing, the talking down, and really what it is, and this is the problem. This is what's up. What bothers me about it the most is that it's obviously self-serving.
Absolutely.
That's one thing about her that I notice.
Yeah.
Look, she says, you won't cover us and all the great work we do, how great our podcast is. You talking about the podcast you doing, Native Pod? That podcast?
That's what you talking about? Yeah, yeah.
That podcast is garbage. Dog, half of the shit y'all, by the time y'all get around to talking about something,
it's history. It ain't news, it's
Black
history.
Community.
It ain't history. It's not news, it's history.
It's already history. You've picked and chose what you're going to say that's going to be the least impactful, the least negative towards the Democratic Party, and then you soft shoe it when you do make any criticisms of the Democrats. And we all know, just like all of you, even Joy Reid and Don Lemon now, trying to turn over a new leaf and seem more rebellious towards the political establishment. But when the time comes, what will you do then? Mm-hmm. When the time comes, what side will you be on? Will you be on the side of the people, not the side of Republicans and Democrats? Will you be on the side of the people or the side of the establishment? And I'm pretty certain, I'm 99% sure that you, Angela Rye, Bakari Sellers, Tiffany Cross, Andrew Gillum will be on the side of the establishment.
Every single time.
Her true beef is they weren't getting promoted and supported. In fact, if it weren't for Angela Rye, the Native Pod, calling out Joe Budden podcast and the Joe Budden podcast, throwing them a alley-oop and letting them respond and responding to them and having a little back and forth, I feel like that was a helpful thing they did for y'all. Yep. Because if it wasn't for that, under the guise that you were standing up for Mark Lamont Hill, if it wasn't for that, y'all been dead in the water 2 years ago, because ain't nobody been checking for the Native Pod, fam.
Absolutely.
No, and that is horrible, considering we got former CNN contributors who can't carry a podcast, that can't get an audience organically. And you had to have Charlamagne come on the podcast to throw your ass a life preserver? Really? So no. Like, you have your beef with the Shade Room and whatever black blogs that she's talking about. I'm not sure exactly who else, but that's who I think she's directing this to. Next time, name names.
Yeah.
So
call it out there. What you got to lose? Yeah,
be clear who you're talking about, because I know you ain't talking about new black media. I know you're not talking about us. Because y'all deserve all the smoke we give y'all 7 days a week, twice on Sundays.
And it ain't
y'all
gonna
Roland
stop.
Martin Light.
Oh, my goodness.
Roland Martin Light, that's what they are.
Man, let me say this to you. I dated a girl named Rena. Beautiful girl. And, she used to always say to me, I'm really nice. I'm really nice. And one day I said to her, I said, nice people don't have to tell you they're nice. Everyone just knows. And for you to have to say, no one talks about the great work we do. Well, if you were doing such great work, someone would talk about it.
Right.
Somebody would. Out of all, think about the reach these three individuals have had. They have been in rooms with the top brass of pretty much all the major conglomerates.
Right.
All the major politicians. They've been in debates. They've had conversations. They've had dinner with these people.
She interviewed Kamala Harris twice, and she can't get a podcast off the ground.
And you can't find anybody to say how much great work you do. Hell, I don't have 3,000 followers, and I got people say the great work I do. You can't get anybody. Are you insane? That means you're not doing anything, Angela. Why don't you cut it out? Let it go. I hate to say this, brother, but maybe, just maybe, this Andrew Gillum thing will be the nail in the coffin for the Native podcast. Because it's not working, baby.
Bakari, I don't know what Bakari needs to bounce, man. Bakari, save your credibility, brother. He's like doing real shit in the real world that I know of. Right. So I doubt he wants to stay. It's got stink on it. That podcast got some stink on it. Tiffany left for a reason. I don't know what it was. Probably differences, editorial differences. And I foresee Mr. Sellers, Esquire, taking a leave soon too.
Well, I tell you this, I knew that Tiffany was going to leave because she was hypersensitive to the writing on the wall. She saw the traction that it was not gaining. She was like, I bet you. She was like, we should have been further along than this. She said, I done got put out of one room. I'm not going to go down with a second sinking ship.
Yeah, maybe so.
So let me go ahead and do something different, or let me just get out of the limelight. I think at best, maybe she's going to reappear and maybe she try to reinvent herself. But I think that Miss Rye is going to stick to her guns. She's going to blame the voters, blame the public when we rightfully call out ridiculous behaviors that are perpetrated by people in her party or in her inner circle. Yep. And she's going to further isolate herself. If you are relegated to calling on Charlamagne the God and beefing with Joe Budden to stay afloat, It's only a matter of time, Miss Rye.
Yeah.
And no, and I say this respectfully. Cash in your chips while you can. Call it a day. Write you a book. Write a book. Go on a book tour. You know, speak to the women who still have the belief that you can save them through your great works. I don't know. This just ain't cutting it, my sister. There it is.
You know, a lot of them are upset. This is why they're so upset at Kamala laws. Because a lot of them were picking out drapes here in Farragut West and McPherson Square and DuPont Circle and Potomac. Like they were already planning on moving to the district area, DC area, man, and in the suburbs of Maryland. You know, they were ready, man. I'm telling you, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And I know Angela was on that list of Black intellectual elites, Democrat in the in crew that was going to come benefit from that. And when that didn't happen, it crushed them.
Yeah.
Because that was their ticket, man. Because Kamala, she may be a lot of things, but she knew how to spend money with her friends.
Absolutely. And what did she take $1 billion?
Through Al $500,000, through Oprah $1 million, as if she needed it.
That was lunch money. Now she threw
work for Kamala.
She threw Oprah lunch money. Let me say this. I'm gonna say this. That's why your boy Roland attacks us so viciously.
Yeah.
We messed up his job pick 3 times. We messed him up with Hillary.
Yeah.
We messed him up with Biden. And we messed him up with Kamala. He's like, y'all keep messing up my money.
Yep.
You know, and we messed up the money for Simone Sanders, Angela Rye, Tiffany Cross.
Yep.
We messed it up for everybody. And so they really got it out for the Black grassroots, you know, especially people like yourself, Tariq Nasheed, Black Authority, Professor Black Truth, people such as that. They're like, oh, hell no, these guys are growing.
Right.
You know, you talking about Philip Scott, Vicky Dillard, Demetra K. I mean, the list goes on, brother, about people that are saying, no, we want tangible policy. We're voting for policy, not personality and party. And their whole shtick is, we got this Democratic machine behind us. And now the machine isn't working. So Angela is like a cornered rat. And I'm going to be honest with you, brother. And I know a lot of people are going to like, man, shut up. I feel bad for Ms. Rye. Because what else does she have? Because she's dug her heels in deep. I think Tiffany Cross did a good thing by jumping ship. She can play the background, let about 20 or 30 news cycles go by, and come back as a reinvented. Your girl, Joyless Reed, her problem is that she didn't wait long enough before she tried to jump back in the fold. She should have waited a little bit longer before she tried to come back as this more boisterous, opinionated woman, because we still remember you were just 5 weeks away from carrying water from the Dems. So please be quiet, Miss Joy.
They're all lawyers, so once they go hang out a shingle and do some law work.
That's right. Get a law firm.
Yeah, they're all lawyers, all of them.
Yeah, do some pro bono work.
There you go, man. Go, remake yourself by helping some brothers and sisters that are trapped in this damn system. Go do some work like that.
Yeah. What is the exoneration? What's the program that helps? Get brothers and sisters out when they've been wrongfully convicted? The Innocence Project.
That's it.
Why don't you do some pro bono work for the Innocence Project?
Yeah.
Then we can say she's doing some work or he's doing some work instead of telling me I'm really a good person.
Our great podcast.
I have a great podcast. How come you're not talking about it? No.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you
for podcasts.
And I'm gonna tell you, brother O'Shea Duke Jackson used to say this all the time, and I quote him a lot because in the space, the YouTube space in particular, he always says this: you've got to bring value.
Yeah.
You got to bring value.
Yeah.
I know you working, brother. You pumping it out, man. You putting it out there, but it's quality stuff, right? And you are reading the room. You're studying the cycles. You're looking at what's coming out and what needs to be discussed. That's hard work. I'm putting out one video a week because I like, hey, this is what I want to talk about. You know, this is all I want to talk about. I know people want to hear it. Now, I may only get 200, 300 people want to hear it. That's okay. I'm okay because I'm like, I want it to be heard. But to make this the real deal, Holyfield, make this is your profession, you got to be working hard and bringing value all the time. And Miss Rye, obviously, you're not doing that.
You're right. You're right about that, brother. You have to bring value.
Yeah.
And at some point, you got to get over yourself and you got to say, you know what? Am I delivering what my viewers want?
Yeah.
Who am I talking to, and am I delivering on that? If I'm not, it's going to show because they're not going to work.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I remember when I had 10 subscribers. I held that number 10 for about 2 months.
Okay.
Right? And then I did a video on black men in the trades.
Okay. Yeah.
And then my subscriber count started shooting up. I'm like, well, what the hell? And then Oshadu Jackson reached out to me because he loved the video. Had a lot of people reach out to me just on that one video.
Yep.
And I recognized that was something that people wanted to hear.
Yep.
And I said, okay, now that was a hit for me. I'm not going to have a bunch of hits like that all the time. But I do recognize that sometimes I will, sometimes I won't.
Right.
But I recognize also that when I'm not getting a lot of hits, sometimes in that moment, I'm not bringing the value that people need.
And it's a lot of competition.
And it's a lot of competition. Now, I'm in a niche space because I'm talking about education, but I'm also talking from a foundational Black American man's perspective in education. So that's niche in itself because there are not a lot of black men in education, let alone talking about it on social media. Right. So therein right there is a problem because I'm only have a couple people want to hear that anyway. And I'm fine with that. And I'm cool with that. But Angela, you don't have the MSNBC and the CNNs to push your content. You got to start from the ground up. And I'm going to be honest, you probably had about 30, 40 subscribers just on your name alone. What you should have did was cater to those 30 or 40,000 and stop being upset that you didn't get another 100,000 just because you exist.
Right.
That ain't gonna happen, baby. Brother Gillum is in a bad way. He's down bad right now.
Right.
I wish that brother the best. I wish his children the best. I wish his wife the best. And I hope that brother seeks help. And I hope that he gets the help that he needs. He accepts it, recognizes that he has a weakness that is going to be with him for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And gets that help. And I'm going to land it there. But don't get mad at us because we're reporting on it, because it is news.
Yeah, actually, I haven't seen anybody making a project. Like, I don't know if O'Shea Duke Jackson even reported on it. I mean, because he'll do 5, him and Flacco.
Whoo! He'll do 100 videos easy.
Flacco, they do about 20 videos on one topic. Now if you got upset about that, I understand.
Right.
After the 15th video, I'm like, Jesus Christ. Nothing else to talk about, but what I've seen has been light.
It's been light.
It's been light, man.
Because I'm gonna be honest, as a community, we are forgiving. Yes. And I'm gonna say this too.
Right.
One thing that we all have in common in our communities, if we don't have somebody in our family who was afflicted, we know somebody who was afflicted. And that hits home to us.
Yes.
It's like, damn, this brother on that stuff. It could be whatever that stuff is in your mind. He on that stuff, and our heart softens because we know how that affects children. We know how it affects mothers and fathers and wives and husbands. We know. So we like, man, we got to stall him out, let him live. But some people don't care, and you're gonna jump on the talk about all of us when we've been letting this brother live. Come on, man. And if you, to be honest with you, the commentary I have heard has not even been about the substance. It's been going back to his initial issue, and they're reflecting back on the sexual portion of it.
Right, which is natural due to the new resuscitates the old.
Absolutely.
That's all it is.
That's
man.
right. You're right.
Yeah, man. Hey, look, Doc, man, tell people where to go to get more of your content, fam.
Listen, once again, please come on over to All Things Education Official, educational news from a foundational Black American male educator's perspective. I'm putting out content, as you already heard, once a week. I ain't no Tim Black. Tim Black is the man. He's
got a real job, sir.
Tim Black is putting out short form, long form, TikTok, Instagram. He might be on Red Note over in China. I don't know. But the brother's out there. Me, myself, I'm just putting out content on Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, LinkedIn, and X, and YouTube. All Things Education Official. Please follow me, subscribe, share, and get that information out to people that want to know about educational news.
Well, I will definitely put the link in the description box so people can just click and get to your content, my brother. Thank you once again, brother, for joining me, man. It's dope, man. Great conversation once again, fam.
I appreciate
Thank you for keeping it real and being a voice of reason.
Thank you for having me, brother. As always, it was great.
All right, y'all. That's all we got. Go check us out on social. You know what we do. I'll be back tomorrow for more Tim Black Show. And with that, we out. Peace, people. Do I have a video to end this? Yeah, we'll do this.
Now